eschew for 5 minutes. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of the 800,000 dreamers, including the 200,000 from my home state of California. Mr. Speaker, these young people are terrified about what will become of them if Congress doesn't live up to its promise to protect them. There is a way to resolve this. There is a way. Congress can pass the DREAM Act, which restores protection for the dreamers. The Act provides for undocumented American students who graduate from American high schools. They need to be of good moral character, arrived in the United States as children, and have been in the country continuously for 4 years, and the opportunity to earn conditional permanent residency for 8 years. That seems absolutely fair to me, and I think to so many others. Now, during that time, the student must pursue higher education, serve in the military, or work lawfully for at least 3 years. Students who meet these conditions are granted permanent residency and the ability to one day become U.S. citizens. This is not a handout. This is not a grab by unworthy people. These are very high standards, and I think standards that U.S. citizens should meet day in and day out, and don't always meet these standards, most frankly. This is bipartisan legislation. It's supported by the faith community across our country, by businesses, by law enforcement, and by 82% of the American people. I think that that passes a very high standard, a very high test. And I'm confident that if the Speaker of the House would allow a vote on this legislation, that it would pass today if it was brought to the floor of the House for a vote. These 800,000 young men and women are not just court cases or statistics. Each of them has a spark of divinity in them. They are young men and young women who have obtained driver's licenses. They have work permits. They've pursued higher education. They are contributing their talents, their heart and soul to this country. Many say, tell them to go home. They are home. This is the only country they know. This is the country that they love. They are serving in our military. In my congressional district, Silicon Valley, where all members of Congress want to go and visit and see what innovation is happening, what innovation is bringing about. The majority of those geniuses that are producing this innovation are immigrants to our country. I stand here as a first-generation American. And if the tenor of some in Congress, not all, but some in Congress, certainly the White House, were in charge when my parents were children, that boat would have had to have made a U-turn. They would not have been welcome in America because they weren't from Norway. They were from the Middle East. And yet today, their daughter stands here on the floor of the House to address the House and the people of our nation. Our nation, from its beginnings, was built by immigrants. I stand here today to say, I love immigrants. They are the backbone of each generation and really the blood that flows through the veins of America. You put a clamp on that vein. You stop the heart of America from beating. Shortly after President Trump terminated the DACA program, Pope Francis said, quote, "To all the people of the United States, I ask, take care of the migrant who is a
Gentleman's time's
promise
expired.
of life for the future." Please follow his words, Mr. Speaker and members of the House, and we will be a better nation because of it.